Hey everybody, I'm Sierra.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome back to The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of the original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Season 2, Episode 2.
Season dose? Episode dose.
Double dose? Double deuces?
I don't know if I'd use that term.
How's it going, babe?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You've got a fancy drink in your hand today.
Don't tell the boys.
Ben's sipping on fancy root beer in the glass bottle.
I'm a big root beer fan.
He is.
Love root beer.
We even tried to make it one time.
We did. We tried to truly brew it.
Yeah, not just get the concentrated mix and do with the dry ice.
Like
we legitimately tried to order. I mean, when they say root beer, it is because the ingredients are roots of all different kinds of things.
Well, we bought, I think, sarsaparilla stuff, all kinds of, that we even put like a cinnamon stick, and then we brewed it up. Then we even let it.
We got the brown glass bottles that you seal, and you're supposed to.
And I think we put yeast in it, put it in the bottles. We let it sit for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Something like that.
To ferment.
Yep. And it was terrible.
It did not taste good.
No. We tried it a couple times. And
I'm sure we did it wrong.
Oh, clearly we did it wrong.
Either that or we're so used to the fake root beer
sugary
flavor that our palates were just like, this is not good.
Problem is there are so many recipes out there to do it. We tried, I think, 2 or 3 different ones.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think one of them we put molasses in it.
It got expensive though to keep making all of this and then
dumping it down the drain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously yeast and ferment is typically how you make beer. And so you're fermenting it long enough where alcohol doesn't form, but there is that still the carbonation, because that's how the carbonation forms.
Yes. You're supposed to let it go long enough so that it carbonates itself.
And that yeast flavor, it's strong.
But yeah, it was a mess. Anyway, it was fun to try though. I enjoyed trying.
Yeah, because I did that like 1 year for Christmas. I bought like the whole setup and everything, and we tried and failed miserably. And we even looked at YouTube videos.
I watched a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part, is you got to try it. Then you have to sit for several weeks to find out that you failed at it, and then try it again.
Yeah.
It went on for, I think, 3 or 4 months at least. We tried.
Yeah. And there's an older gentleman that lives locally to us, and he makes homemade root beer. And so I finally talked to him, and he was like, I don't know why you're wasting your time with that. He just buys the flavoring,
the
concentration stuff, puts it with dry ice, which then forms carbonation.
Yeah.
And it makes, because dry ice is so cold. It makes like the frosty, frothy, bubbly. It's the perfect root beer.
Well, and it was really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he puts it in one of those big like orange igloo things and like rolls it around in the back. He's like, he puts it in and then he'll put it in the back of the truck and drive it. So it gets all mixed up. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
And it's a fraction of the price. It's way easier.
But I'm a big root beer fan.
Yeah.
But
so Ben's sipping on.
I snuck this one in here because
it's the last one from Super Bowl Sunday.
This one, yeah. We had some, and if my boys saw it, the minute they see me open one, they're like, "Can I have a root beer?" Which this goes to show how selfish I am.
Parenting.
I'm trying to hide 101. It from my children.
100%. I'm sure people have a lot of oddities in their side table of their bedroom. I stashed, not anymore, for a long time, my secret, like, expensive chocolates or candies in there.
Yeah.
And I get a sweet tooth about 10 o'clock at night, and I don't need a ton, but give me some dark chocolate or a peanut butter cup or something. And I had like a bag of Dove's chocolate in there. So you don't really notice that some of it's missing.
But our youngest.
Until you go to get one and the bag is empty.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we've been discovered.
Yeah. Our youngest, he is hands down the most curious person.
Even
ever.
from toddler.
Yes. Since he was born.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a drawer, if there is a corner,
a button,
anything, this kid has to know where everything is.
We had to go
what's going on
to like the Goodwill and buy blenders and blow dryers and things and cut the electrical cords off of them so that he could take them apart. He could mess around with them. He wanted to see how they worked, why they did what they did.
Kid ever.
Which,
so you can't hide anything from him because I have found him in our closet at times. And I've said, what are you doing? Nothing.
Just looking around, just exploring.
Just looking. I'm like, at what? You can't hide.
And that's the thing. It's never like with secret or malice he's just like, he never looks like he got caught doing something.
He's not
I'm just like, where's
anything.
our youngest child at? And I go in and find that he's going through and he's found my jewelry box from like college, which has nothing in it but terrible Forever One jewelry in it. Yeah. And he is like looking at it and asking questions and wanting to take it apart. And yeah.
No, I've found him in my drawers by the side bed at least 4 or 5 times. Even though he knows everything that's in there, he still will come in and peruse through it to see what's Dad got on this.
If something's important enough to be in a drawer, he must know what it is.
Yeah, I wonder what it is.
And I'm like, actually, most people just have junk drawers in their house where it's the stuff we don't know where to put it at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's funny.
Okay, so we are recapping season 2, episode 2 of Unsolved Mysteries with our dear friend Robert Stacks. He's here telling us 3 stories. And
I told you, I think I set it up last week. We got an interesting one this week.
You guys,
what was your thoughts on this episode?
First off, this Unsolved Mysteries gives us a lot of the things that we love about Unsolved Mysteries. There's mystery and intrigue and maybe dealing with some outer fringes of society. I don't want to say supernatural because, and we'll get into this where Ben tells, it's just the unexplained.
Yeah.
So we kind of have some elements. No aliens or Bigfoots this time.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. That was last week. Aliens was last week.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
do you think we're going to get another Bigfoot?
Oh, yes. I think that I remember, at least as a child, I think there was a Bigfoot story told in Unsolved Mysteries that was from either Oregon or Washington.
Well, that was because the one we did last season was from Colorado, specifically.
Which is not as big of a Bigfoot society, at least, or sightings.
So I was just going to be curious because Bigfoot is so big in the Pacific Northwest, if we're going to get another one about that area specifically, or if they were going to chalk that up as good enough.
Speaking of, and we don't have to get into this too deep because I actually want to do a separate thing on it. Did you hear that they did some DNA testing and have named Jack the Ripper officially? Put a name to it?
No, they haven't.
You're not up to date on the true crime news.
I know that might be shocking, but I think they can say they've done it, but there's just no way.
You don't think so I will say I haven't looked into any information about where this DNA came from or what
exactly
X, Y, or Z. So pending me doing a little bit more digging a few days ago, there was at least some news reports that they have officially named somebody. Now, whether that came from Scotland Yard or some YouTube sleuth, I don't know. So but
this is the problem with society, right? You telling me, and the minute Sierra said, I started shaking my head. No. Right. But this is my same
and I
caveat.
said, this is all alleged and things I just started hearing some rumblings about. So, and here's there might be people listening to this who have done more research and either like yes,
it
this
doesn't
is
matter.
legit, or no, it's not.
It doesn't matter. There's still going to be people that shake their head. And here's the thing. Who am I to shake my head? You know how much I've read or know about this case?
Nothing.
Practically nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't intend to. But the problem is it's now been talked about. It's been speculated. People have named so many names and pointed so many fingers that it has got so convoluted in society that it doesn't matter what you say anymore. Some people will believe and a lot of people won't, you know.
Mm-hmm. So how you feel about life in general, that we should stop looking for answers because it's too convoluted?
Maybe. I don't know.
No, Ben. Okay. So I will get us started with our first case, Mr. Jack Brown. 47-year-old Jack Brown was a real estate agent.
Never trust any real estate agents.
Hey.
Just kidding.
Is it Ypsilanti?
I was so excited for you to have to say this.
It's okay. You always give me a hard time about spelling it, but I want people, if you can safely close your eyes and try to imagine this. Ypsilanti. I pronounce that as Ypsilanti. Lent. Because that's anti at the end, so Ypsilanti.
I don't know. I actually can't remember, and I wouldn't do any better. I just was excited to hear someone else make the attempt.
A smaller town in Michigan, but it's not far from like Detroit. Okay.
Yeah. They said it was a suburb.
And then after I did some more reading, there's even people that are saying it's far bigger and a little bit farther removed from Detroit to be considered a suburb. It is like its own little borough of Michigan, but the whole point is it's a small town, but it is within driving distance, give or take, to get into Detroit.
I would say everything's within driving distance.
Well, obviously everything's, but I guess I should say we live outside of town, so everything's at least always 20 to 40 minutes for us. But I mean, I grew up in a small town of 3,000, which I'm learning is considered very small. And we were 20, 30 minutes away from the bigger city, which only had 20,000. And that was my life. So to grow up.
That was a metropolis.
Yeah. To grow up. Detroit is a very big city. Yeah.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
It's not like they were so far out that, we're not dealing with like what we dealt with the Roswell thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was a real estate agent and he lived most of his life in this little community. And I think this is important because you want to get the understanding that a lot of these people work and know each other and have grown up and they're raising their families together. He was a member of the local Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club, very common for real estate agents in small towns.
Rotary Club. There's more clubs.
More clubs and more agencies that you pay to be a part of, and they promise you more business.
Oh, okay.
I will say, I don't know anything about our local chapters, but in Douglas County, the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club, especially because I did 4-H, like, we're a big part of our community and fundraising and putting stuff on. And
don't the Rotary Club, don't they have a jacket?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool,
my mom would know
like
more about that because
jacket?
my mom did marketing and radio advertisements for, this is way back in the day, guys, when radio stations were owned by local DJs and stuff like that. So Roseburg had their own, and I still think they have one station there before everything went to satellite radio. And because of what she did in marketing and advertisement, she was a part of those business or those organizations. So I'll have to ask her if they had a jacket for maybe like the board members or something.
I want a Rotary Club jacket.
You want a Rotary jacket?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look into that for you.
All right. Oh, sorry. Time out. If you guys are all listening, Sierra's birthday is in 2 days.
Oh, there it is.
She turns 40. So reach out. Tell her happy birthday.
I actually love the attention on my birthday, so.
I know. That's what I'm telling you. Reach out.
Ben is the opposite. He doesn't want anyone to acknowledge his birthday.
This comes out on March 4th. And her birthday is 2 days later.
March 6th.
Turns the young, ripe age of 25.
I don't think I'd be 25 again.
40. She's
40's bit. You know what? My late 30s have been awesome. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to.
11:10 a.m., January 11th, 1984, two unknown men come into Jack's office building. So he wasn't just an agent. In this small town, he had his own office building, which I'm going to guess we would call that his own brokerage. One of the assailants stood guard and the other went to Jack's office. Jack was on the phone at the time. He noticed the two men and said, quote, "We have trouble here," and then hung up the phone. The assailant pulled, what did you say?
We got trouble here.
But did that make you think of a song?
Nope, it sure didn't.
We got trouble right here in River City.
No,
Nothing? Music Man.
No, never seen it, never heard
You've
it.
never seen The Music Man?
No. Again, why? You always act surprised when I tell you I haven't seen a musical.
I think because some of these musicals were a big part of my childhood.
We didn't watch musicals in our house growing up.
That tracks.
Yeah. That's shocking. I know. I know.
Okay, so the assailant pulls a gun out on Jack and says, "You think you're pretty smart, don't ya?" Did you like that?
I did.
To which Jack responds, "Well, maybe," before being shot by the gun-wielding assailant. The other gunman took the three employees and locked them in the bathroom. I cannot imagine being locked in a bathroom with other people.
I'm just curious, how do you lock someone in a bathroom? The lock is
always fair point.
The lock is always on the other side.
True. I actually did not even think about that. Maybe they jammed a chair under the door.
But again...
Or maybe they just used the fact that they had a loaded handgun and people decided, you know what, I'm just going to camp out here.
I'm just going to hang out here. I'm just going to
stay here until,
That's what I figured.
But this was the thing. They didn't injure any of these people. They didn't even hit them or assault them or threaten them even in any way, which seems wild to me.
When they interviewed one of the employees. Did you hear what he said?
What did he say?
I liked his terminology. He said, after this happened, they started gathering, and he said, "I figured we just bought the farm."
Oh, that's right. Didn't we talk about that was an old-timey saying? Was there another episode that we referenced that saying?
I don't know. Not that I remember. I just remember you trying to...
I feel like we'd heard it before where we learned that was something that people said when they were going to die. They thought life was ending.
You're thinking of the game we played on Christmas at our friend's house, and I think that was terminology.
You are correct. That is where we learned that for the first time. We were playing with, and that was an older generation question on,
But he was saying that employees said he uses that terminology. I thought
Uncle Paul, that's what everyone calls him, was there, and I
was talking about the show.
I was saying. So Uncle Paul referenced in the game. He told us all, and no one at that table, and there was probably 8 adults, had never heard that term before, and he acted as if we were all like.
I've heard bought the farm.
I'd never had before,
but the terminology he'd used it, and I have used it a little different. But the guy that was getting interviewed said,
he did say that
he thinks they bought the farm, meaning they're going to kill all the witnesses.
Life is over. Yeah. So sadly, Jack passes away at the hospital about 12 hours later. He slipped into a coma right away, never woke up, so he was never able to vocalize anything. There was no evidence that Jack's murder was a random act of violence. There was no robbery. Nothing was taken. Nothing was broken.
Well, he was clearly targeted.
Yeah, it appeared that the murder was a contract hit, which I think is a big thing for police to even go in and think that, because I think we see it all the time in movies and shows. I think for cops to jump to that conclusion very quickly, it means that, there was no other answer as to why this could have happened. It obviously wasn't a random act because nobody else was hurt.
Well, yeah, and they witnessed it, right?
Yeah.
They could pin it on these guys, but yet...
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, these men's faces were not covered.
Yeah, everyone saw these guys.
Yeah. And interacted with
and
them.
even had interactions with them.
So everyone is mystified at this point as to the motive. Jack did not appear to be involved in shady activities. His real estate broker seemed to be a legit business. It put him into contact with many of the community members. No one could imagine why he had been the target of this sort of murder. Police speculated that he maybe was living a double life. I mean, I think that's the only kind of conclusion that you can draw.
I think, yeah, you're just trying to figure out why.
Yeah. The night before his murder, Jack's brother, Norm, visited him at his office. He did notice that Jack was on the phone and appeared to be upset, having kind of an aggressive phone call with the caller. When Jack hung up the phone, Norm asked him if he was, what's going on? But Jack said that the call was nothing serious. But now, obviously, hindsight 2020, he's wondering if that call had anything to do with anything.
Yeah.
So, again, Ben and I will reiterate, if you are in fear or in danger of something, don't be vague about it. Tell people what's going on. Right? Because we're going to hear another story. So Jack's wife tells us, again, that she was interviewed telling us this story, and I thought it was very funny. So she remembered a conversation that she and Jack had been having after a Christmas party. She does want you to note.
Oh, I know.
That she was annoyed with him.
Spoken like a true wife.
Because he'd had too much to drink at the party.
She was irritated.
She was irritated with him.
Yeah,
I will say, he's obviously passed at this point, and she seemed like she is obviously mourning and sad about this. But I do think it was sweet that she still even had the wherewithal to let us know that she could have left that out, that she was annoyed with him.
But this happened in 1984. Mm-hmm. We're telling this is 5 years.
4 or 5 years later, yeah. So she's letting us know that while driving home in Jack's, and the reenactment actor was nailing the slurred speech and stuff like that.
So good.
Mentioned something vague about writing the names down of some important, powerful people connected to illegal activities and placing this piece of paper in a safety deposit box. She tried to ask him some more about this, and he told her it was probably better for her not to know more. Okay. Again, this is what I'm talking about.
Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I came to you.
Oh, yes.
And I said, hey, I'm going to be vague about this.
Can't ask me any questions.
And I start asking you, hey, if I knew that a very important people did something and I know about it, what would you do if I was... I guess if I started asking these vague questions that seem kind of crazy,
mm-hmm.
knowing you...
Oh, there's no way I could let it go.
You would never let it go.
I would become obsessive about it. But my problem is my mind goes to a 10 instantly.
Would bug me so much until I told you.
Yeah.
And to be fair, she even acknowledges this.
Yeah.
By saying, listen, I know everyone here's probably wondering why. She
does remind us that he was heavily intoxicated at the time. And so there was a part of her that was like, is this letting the whiskey talk or something, where he maybe is leaning into something that is...
It was like a Morgan Wallen song, Last Night,
Yeah, exactly.
We let the whiskey talk, stuff like that.
So she never finds out anything more about this. And it isn't even until, obviously, he is murdered. She says she tears their house upside down, inside out, looking for any sort of key or record of the safety deposit box.
She believes the safety deposit box is legit.
And on a side note, I could not find in any of my research if there was ever any sort of safety deposit box located anywhere, because I imagine the police looked into that. And I am not important enough of a person to have any safety deposit box, so I don't even know how that works. My only knowledge of them is in movies where it's you have to have a key and
I can never need it. I can't confirm or deny if I have a safety deposit.
Oh, okay. Well, here you go, people. Now you know.
I don't know. Maybe my alias name is Jason Bourne. I don't know.
Oh, my goodness. So, ironically, on the same day that Jack was murdered, a major drug bust. Now, this is the 80s. So, drug busts were, I'm going to guess, because I, again, could not tell. I have a feeling this might not have been just some, like, marijuana plants growing somewhere. It probably appears to have been a much bigger, organized criminal activity drug bust.
Well, and they say it was because of an anonymous
Triggered by an anonymous informant. Investigators suspect that the drug bust may have been connected to Jack's murder, and they believe that people in the community do have information, but are obviously afraid to come forward. And then we get a description of the assailants, because again, they came in with no masks on. They did not attempt to hide their identity or cover up their face or anything at all like that. And so we get a fairly detailed sketch of these two. Do you know what I thought the moment I saw them?
I have no idea.
They look like the bandits from Home Alone.
I didn't see that, but that's awesome.
I will share the picture. He's got the stocking cap on his head, and he's short and a little bit round, and the other guy's got like this lanky long face. They look like the Wet Bandits.
So you're saying it was Marv and
Is it Harry?
Harry.
Yeah.
Harry, I'm in the house. Just so you know, everyone, that is hands down my favorite Christmas movie.
It's such a good Christmas movie.
Maybe I've already said it.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
Yeah, I agree.
An awesome movie.
We even loved the Netflix documentary on like how they were made. They do one on this movie, and it's so good. But yeah, I want to get a picture side by side, because the moment they came up on the screen, I was like, well, I could solve this right now. This was the Wet Bandits. In the 80s, they upgraded from house theft to contract murders.
Well, they would have done this before the house theft.
Maybe they downgraded them. They thought, whew, that was too close.
That was too much.
Yeah. Okay, so you ready for your update?
I am ready.
This is unsolved.
I know.
That is nuts to me.
Crazy.
Yeah. Several people, unfortunately, in Jack's life have since passed away, including his business partner, a couple of his kids, his two sons, Clark and Jack.
And his wife
his wife. So I don't think there's a lot of people pushing. I even read on a subreddit forum that there was a couple people that live in this town and like grew up here and had never heard of this story.
This has got mob written all over it.
Well, that's the big question. This is very close to Detroit.
Exactly.
In the 80s, where the mob had a very heavy presence to it.
Well, and you're in real estate.
Okay. Yeah. I would say I'm in real estate.
But in the 80s.
Yes. But even now, 98% of the forms you have to sign when you do any sort of interaction with a real estate agent is because somebody broke a law or manipulated or lied or did something nefarious that caused this piece of paper to show up at your signing. There is a lot of room for manipulation in the world of real estate.
Yeah, and I don't know the real estate world.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's what it smells like, what it looks like. And
even the police believe that either A, this was a contract hit because he was the informant on the drug deal, or B, he was involved at some level in organized crime and he crossed to the wrong person.
He skimmed off the top.
Did something. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, is that kind of where...
Well, yeah, and that's I've said before, I got into the mob a couple years ago. I'm a self-proclaimed expert, No, I'm just
got
kidding.
into the mob as in intrigued by it, not into the mob.
Yeah, I didn't join the mob. Thank you for clarifying that. It might be awkward.
Yeah.
It might be a conflict of interest.
It might be a little bit of a problem in your job. Yeah.
Anyways, and it smells like it. It looks like it. At least how, I'll say this, at least how Unsolved Mysteries
Well, when they didn't
it.
hurt anybody else.
And the mob, they were very, they didn't really wear masks when they just went in.
Well, and that was my point. This
thing.
is a small town. It seemed like his business was in the heart of this little downtown. Nobody recognized these men, and nor did they seem to ever be witnessed in that area again.
Yeah, but I don't know. We have no idea. And I looked in, and
there's nothing on this.
It's unfortunately, this will probably never be solved.
Yeah. Especially now that there's no one even alive still probably wanting to know what happened.
Yeah, and that is, I saw that 2 of his sons, we don't know how many kids he had.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but I saw that already 2 of his sons had passed.
Yeah.
His wife had passed.
Wife, business partner.
Yeah, so unfortunately.
Yeah, and unless someone probably in a jailhouse confession somewhere admits that he was hired or had a hand in it, and somehow we're never going to know. There was no evidence left. These people stormed in, took care of the...
But you're getting to the point, they speculated that the shooters, one of them was between 35 and 40, and the other one was about 50.
Yeah.
Which that also, it tracks, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, even the young guy at this point, that was 1984, that guy's got to be 85 years old.
Yeah.
So, anyone that knows anything or was even part of it is long gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So...
All right, that's it.
That's it for that one. Unfortunately, I think you're right, Ben. I don't think that's ever gonna have any resolve for us.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's too bad.
Yeah. All right, you ready? Tell us.
Oh, I'm ready. All right, we got an unexplained.
Unexplained, I think, is what they label it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get Robert Stack in a Catholic church talking to us about miracles.
Yeah.
Originally. Now, I'm going to put a caveat on this, okay? I'm not Catholic. And so there's a lot of this I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I apologize. I'm going to try to tell you some of the things he tells us. If I get some of this wrong, I apologize.
Yeah. Yeah, we are not Catholic. I will say, when Robert's telling us some of the history that Ben's going to tell us in a little while, I did not realize that this was something that the Catholic Church...
So I had
acknowledged or was even...
Yeah, I have I'd heard a little bit about this. I've not read about this. So Catholicism, they do recognize miracles. People will bring forth stuff, but I guess they really have to investigate it. And it goes through a rigorous process. And I guess most of the time it's not deemed a miracle, but they will specifically deem some things miracles, at least from my understanding.
Yeah, and there was even a priest who kind of explained why there's a vigorous process. Yeah, actually, and I thought he did a really good job.
That comes in at the end, and he did do a really good job of explaining why it's important. Why they do what they do.
And it's not to discount
no
anyone's experience, but it is important for them to validate things.
Yeah. So Robert Stack tells us that there's only been 3 miracles that have been authenticated by the Catholic Church in the last century.
Okay.
One in 1917 in Fatima, Portugal. Supposedly 3 kids had said that God had promised to show them a sign of something, and they gave a specific day and time. And on that day and time, there was a rainstorm. There's a massive crowd outside. The clouds parted and the sun touched down.
The sun as in the Son of God, or the sun as in S-U-N?
S-U-N, the sun. The light had, clouds parted and a beam of light from the sunshine had come down. And it was deemed, this was in 1917. So I actually I've never heard of that before.
I never either, because sun rays are a common occurrence.
Yeah, but... This was deemed, and even, I guess, to this day, many people, they go and gather there quite often.
I think there's a monument or something there that, it's and marked in some way.
At this time, during this broadcast, there is a town in Yugoslavia
Are you going to try to pronounce the town?
I am.
Okay.
I'm not going to try to pronounce the town. But supposedly multiple children had said that the Virgin Mary had been visiting them.
Yeah.
Then the church at that time, was investigating to see if this was really happening. So that's kind of the background Robert Stack gives us.
Okay. That's only 2 miracles. Did they list the third one?
Nope. They never
Okay.
did. They just gave us those because this story kind of had ties to these things. But so there was another miracle supposedly that might have happened in Ambridge, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
All right. And we get told a little bit about this town. It's kind of a little sleepy town. It's kind of there used to be some steel mills there, but have been shut down.
The town is struggling economically wise because of the loss of these sort of like labor jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, there is a church, the Holy Trinity Church there. And in the church they have a suspended crucifix. It was quite large.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like over 20 feet up in the air, suspended from the ceiling there. And it has been in that church since 1931. And they say last January. So the January of 1989, it was refurbished by a local artist named Dominic Leo.
Who's interviewed?
He is interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells us of his refurbishing. He had it for 2 weeks. He goes going through it, just cleaning it up, touching up
some paint.
Touching up paint. Sorry. Sorry, guys. And they said on the last week, he got to the head and he painted the eyes and really focused on the head and eyes there.
Yeah, he said he was focusing on trying to showcase the sorrow that was being shown in the face of the Savior.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he finishes that up in January, gets put back up in the church. And on March 24th, 1989, during a 3-hour mass for Good Friday.
Have you ever been to a Catholic mass before?
I never have.
Okay. I've been to a few of them.
You have your grandmother's Catholic.
Yeah, my grandmother she is a very devout Catholic woman. And my friend, who actually listens to this, Amber Renteria, her family are also very dedicated Catholics. And there was, and I don't know, I'd have to ask Amber, a big event. And I think we went down to Southern Oregon, and this was a big deal. And this one was all done in a different language. I'm going to guess what Catholics speak Latin, maybe. I think it was done in that. And it was a packed place, but that was my actual first time going through like a big, big one. Stand up, sit down, kneel. There's a little bench. You kneel down, you talk to your neighbors. And then I've been to Catholic mass with my grandma and stuff like that. But it's, Good Friday to have a 3-hour one of those, I think is quite in depth because I believe most services for Catholics on Sunday are right around the hour mark, maybe a little bit less.
Well, we all know. I mean, even us, Sierra and I go to church.
Yeah.
Church is always the busiest.
Mm-hmm.
Easter weekend,
Christmas weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality.
Well, and I want to say they have Ash Wednesday, Good Friday, and then Easter. Yeah. All the Catholic. This is a big whole thing.
Yeah. So this was a big event. As I said, March 24th, 1989. They had that 3-hour mass on Good Friday, and they said they had up to 300 people, which I'm guessing for this little town.
That's a hefty,
that's a lot right now, even.
Yeah.
So we don't have 300 people.
No.
Anyways, so Jim, oh man, I can't say his last name either because it is spelled Cvitkov. Sikovic. There we go. We got it. So, which I think that's from Yugoslavia.
Well, I think they said a big portion of the town is made of immigrant families from Yugoslavia, from that area.
So Jim Siklovic was an altar boy that day, and he goes through the process. I don't know the process, so I'm not gonna.
It's a lot of ritualistic style, repetitive.
It appears
motions
that he takes communion.
Yeah.
He goes over to the altar and he's kneeling and praying.
Mm-hmm.
His brother comes and kneels next to him, and he looks up at the crucifix, and to him, he sees something different. It appears that on the crucifix, Jesus's eyes were closed.
Yep.
Which they didn't used to be.
Correct.
So he tells his brother, hey, look up. And his brother sees the same thing. So they say, well, maybe it's just the light.
Fair.
Where we're kneeling. So Jim gets up and he goes to the other side and kneels and looks up. And this is what he sees. It still appears that the eyes are closed. Okay? So they're in the back after.
Yeah, so they finish up their service.
Yeah. And Reverend Vincent Siklovic, it was their uncle, comes back there and he sees these boys. They're crying. They're emotional.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What's going on? Like, they tell him, it looks like the crucifix has changed, that Jesus's eyes have closed. Mm-hmm. They're different.
And I will say, I think from my understanding in the Catholic faith, statues, especially their eyes, either crying or closing or opening, is a common thought to be a miracle that happens. They believe that this is a way the Savior or the Virgin Mary express emotion to the people at this church.
Again, I don't.
So for anyone in the Catholic faith, you could tell me 100% if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, that is something that they would recognize as a sign, and it is in line with other things that have happened.
So the Reverend goes out there and he sees it, and it appears that everyone is getting ready to leave this meeting, and he sees the artist, Dominic Leo, and he calls for him multiple and saying, hey, Dominic, come here. Can you look up at the crucifix and tell me what you see? And he's worried because he's thinking, did I screw up?
Criminy, what did I mess up?
You know, did I mess something up?
Restoring art is not an easy.
Well, and it's not yours.
It's not yours.
Someone else handed you something and said, hey, can you do this?
And that crucifix had been there since, what, the 30s?
1931.
Yeah, so he's dealing with a delicate piece of artwork.
Years.
Yeah, that is well beloved by this congregation.
Well, and it's there, right there. It's what people are looking at
so
while
at
they're
first
worshiping.
He's panicked.
Yeah,
like,
he's
what did I mess up on? Yeah.
So he looks up, and
he's looking for errors at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, all of a sudden, his eyes, everything, his eyes were drawn to Jesus's eyes.
Yeah.
And he notices instantly the eyes are closed.
Mm-hmm.
It even says, like, under it looks like fleshy. It just looks
he said
different.
It appeared very real life to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they then get a ladder out.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, this thing is, they said 22 feet high.
Yeah.
They get a ladder up, and the Reverend sends the artist up. He's like, you go look at it. Because technically, he says, listen, you've been the closest to this.
Yeah, you're going to be able to tell us, like, no, that's just the way it's hanging now, or the light's different. Maybe it's in a different position or spot than it was before. I don't know. But yeah, he sends them up there.
When technically, he's the one, he's looked at this the closest, the most recently, you know. So, and he spent a lot of time with it.
Yeah.
So he gets up there, and he says the left eye is closed with the right eye barely slightly open.
Yeah.
And as Dominic is interviewed and tells us, he gets pretty emotional.
Yeah, it's very endearing to see this man who obviously, what's his last name? He looks Italian to me. Leo. He's this very well put together, older, well-spoken man, obviously is an artist of some caliber enough that he was entrusted with this. And as he is telling us this story, he is overcome with the emotion of what he believes he witnessed is a miracle.
Yeah. So he thinks for sure this thing has changed. It does not look the same as when he was refurbishing it only a couple months earlier. Then we get Trooper Chris Marion.
Oh, yeah,
He's
this was adorable.
Man, I want to see this.
Yeah, you've got the law enforcement guy who is
He gets up there and he's like, well, I've been trained to look at things differently.
Yeah.
He gets up. When he says, I wanted to make sure it hadn't been tampered with. People had messed with it.
He immediately goes to vandalism or tampering or something.
He gets up
shocking.
there. He sees the same thing.
He's also overcome with emotion. He's not as much as the artist, but he was taken aback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get interviewed by Sue Tolfa, and she proceeds to tell us, listen, she's clearly been very devout. She said that crucifix used to be in the room where they lit candles.
Yeah.
And so I guess, I don't know the ritual. You would light a candle, then you would look up to the crucifix, say your prayers.
And it's in a different spot typically than like your chapel that you're worshiping in. Yeah.
And that's where that one used to be. Mm-hmm. So she said she had spent a lot of time looking at it and that the eyes were open then. And now that she's looking at it, she says for sure they were definitely different.
Yeah.
Hold on. I forgot to pull this up.
Okay.
Give me a minute, people. I apologize.
I've always wanted to do that. I mean, like, again, this is not part of our normal faith practice, but if we ever travel to like some of these amazing synagogues.
Oh, yeah. Some of these amazing old churches.
To be able to go and in the quiet night to light a candle and to be able just to take a moment to have that experience or to say a prayer or to clear your mind or worship of any kind, I think would be a beautiful experience to be able to partake in.
So they say there's a bunch of now parishioners, members looking at this, and
the whole congregation now is looking.
Yeah, they're up, they're looking, they're all,
and they're getting excited. They're getting emotional. They feel like they've witnessed something together.
Yeah. So they do say that one of them, they don't name the person, had received a message, and he wrote it down.
Oh, yes. I thought this was interesting.
This was the message given. I have given this sign for all those who have faithfully come. Truly, my presence is within this church. Within the months to come, many will flock to see what I have done. Welcome them, just as the people of Medjugorje. That was the other.
Medjugorje, that was the name of that.
One of where the kids were supposedly being visited by the Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, sorry. Just as the people of Medjugorje, welcome those who flock to see my mother. So that was the message that someone had supposedly received that night. Okay. So then we get an interview from Susan Rennie. She's supposedly a Catholic scholar. I would actually be interested. Are you a Catholic, or are you someone that investigates religion to debunk it? I don't know.
Yeah, because
I do think that needs to be taken into consideration, because some people get into that just because they like to tear apart things.
They like to be the antagonistic.
Anyways, she says this is just subjective reality, that these people are seeing what they want to see. She says maybe it's because this prayer group, these 300 people that met, they wanted to feel an affirmation for their prayer group, that what they're doing is good. And so this was kind of their way of making
you call like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
They want to know what they're doing
and
is
so
being
they
heard
think
and
that they
seen.
see this and that's God telling them that, and that's what they wanted to see. But yeah, that's her.
I mean, subjective reality is a thing for sure, but potentially hundreds of people. That's kind of where I guess I would be like, a subjective reality theory doesn't typically fit in that category when there's that many people. Yep. But that's just my personal thoughts on that.
Yeah, but we also know that you get into a crowd and some people start saying they see something, and all of a sudden...
Oh, the psychology behind group mentality is a very interesting subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways... then Robert Stack comes back to tell us, listen, is this a miracle or is it he uses the word a hallucination. Okay. Not my word, his word. But for it to be considered a miracle, it first has to be investigated by a commission from the Bishop of Pittsburgh, they say. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to guess then it goes to the Vatican.
Yeah.
So they were doing that at that time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, now we get our update.
Yeah, there's an immediate update.
He tells us that within a few weeks after this had aired, the commission had found that there was no evidence that the crucifix had changed and the case was closed. Mm-hmm. But they did note that all the witnesses, all the people they talked to seemed extremely...
They didn't know any fraud. They didn't feel like this was some sort of scheme.
They felt that they were all extremely
genuine.
Sincere.
Yeah, and sincere.
And we do then get the
You
bishop.
do get a side-by-side.
Well, we'll talk about that. Well, you get the bishop there, and he talks about, this is what we were talking about earlier.
This is, and I thought this was important.
Why they investigate this. They said because they don't want someone to do something out there that is fraudulent, which then will hurt other people's faith if it comes out that something had been manipulated or something had been done wrong. And then people believe in it.
And he even said, like, people came from all over to see this. And what if someone had come who maybe wasn't Catholic?
Yeah.
Joined the Catholic Church based on this experience of others, and then it had turned out to be a fraud. That would do more damage.
Yeah.
So it is important. And I had never thought about that. I thought that was very important. I understand it 100%, and it makes it make sense as to why the Catholic Church not only does this but has such a rigorous expectation of what they would consider a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. I did read that right after this event, when it had made the news, hundreds and thousands of people did flock to kind of come see it.
And oddly enough, because that community was suffering a pretty bad, they called it like a depression time or economic downfall because of the steel mill shutting down, that regardless of whether this was a hallucination or a miracle or what have you not, that this little boost from people coming to this community to witness this or to see for themselves made actually a very big impact on the community and almost kind of turned things around a little bit.
Yeah. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, there was, in my mind, maybe that was the miracle.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I would say they do give us a side-by-side. Did you see any difference in the two?
No.
No, I didn't either.
But I'll give them this. The picture quality was awful.
Was terrible. Yeah.
But they show the side-by-side of what it looked like in January of 1989 and what it looked like in March of 1989. And I didn't see any difference.
The eyes are open.
I'm also looking at one picture, not going to church and staring at it on a regular thing. I am not going.
But the eyes were open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it could have been mistaken as close, if that's what it looked like at the time.
I
don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. But, so it was not deemed a miracle by the Catholic Church, but you could tell the people that were there that night had an experience that it seemed like a lot of them had a lifelong likely impact on their faith. And you know what? Good. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Religion is a touchy subject.
Oh, yes.
There's two things that people get super angry about or have a lot of strong feelings.
Are passionate about.
Politics and religion.
Yeah.
And so, it's one thing when I kind of...
I guess also, do you think miracles to this day exist?
100%.
Because I think
Catholic,
Christian, Muslim, Jewish, anyone of faith, you believe that miracles that are from a higher power or the hand of God has had a hand in, do you believe that those still happen today as maybe they did in the times of biblical error?
Yeah. Yeah. I've said this before.
Yeah.
I'm a God-fearing man.
Yeah.
And if God performed miracles before, he can perform miracles today.
Yeah.
The God is this. This is not a religious podcast, but he's the same yesterday, today, and forever, at least how I believe.
Yeah.
This is me. So I do believe in miracles. I believe that people feel things, they see things, they experience things. So I will never discount. That's why, yes, I can say I saw the picture. I don't see any difference, but I also wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I also didn't refurbish this thing and stare at it for hours on end and then look at it again. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I sure as heck am not qualified to
make that call.
Or even really pass any type of judgment.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of people are looking sideways at me because I pass a lot of judgment on, you know, aliens and Bigfoot and even psychics.
Yeah.
But, you know, here's the thing. As a human, if you're defined by your belief in aliens and Bigfoot, I think we got a problem. People are defined by their faith in God or just their faith, period.
In any sort of,
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I don't like to,
I'm not going to be the person that comes in and detracts
here's the
from
thing,
that.
and I don't know. And I guess this is the one thing.
Or to unvalidate that you had this experience. Who am I to do that?
And this is the one thing that I'm even that way. I could probably believe a little crazy and willing to accept a non-normal and go out on a limb. It's something I'm willing to do. That's just who I am.
I think anyone that reads the Bible has to at some point go out a little bit. I mean, there are stories in the Bible that are wild.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I mean, exactly the same. You know, I don't believe at all that miracles are only available to faith. I will say anyone living on the earth, to me, is able to experience a miracle. I don't think it is designed only for one faith or one gender or one continent or what have you. And absolutely not who would I be to come in and take away your personal experience and try to rip that from you. I mean, that would make you a terrible person. And that's why I even think the Catholic Church said, while they can't validate it as a real miracle, they did not come out and accuse those people of lying or being deceitful or anything. You know, who knows? I think we all have had experiences in our lives that maybe we can't explain, or that are moments that bring us closer to whatever faith we believe in. And I would never be the person to come in and say, well, since I didn't see that, or I don't believe that way, or whatever, and take that away from you.
Well, so it's too bad too, because, you know, these people experienced and they wanted to share it to hopefully change. And now, you know, it blows up into the mainstream media, and then people are picking it apart. Well, did it happen? Did it not? I mean, kind of. Well,
and what is literally the definition of faith?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and so it makes, when stuff like this does happen, it makes people that of faith just kind of keep it in, because anyone from the outside can look at a picture and be like, you're crazy. No, you didn't see that. But those people truly felt, they saw something, they felt something.
Yeah. And, I even thought it was interesting that this was on Unsolved Mysteries.
Because again, talking about religion in the public can
stir up a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, good or bad, or, you know, there's people on both sides. You know?
And that doesn't detract from people that have had terrible experiences under the umbrella of faith. But this didn't seem to do any harm to anybody. And I'm not going to take away those people's experience, that what they experienced on a Good Friday inside their own church, worshiping with their family and friends and loved ones.
And I will say this, I thought they did a good job of presenting it in a respectful kind of It wasn't a speculation.
Yeah.
They were just, hey, these people said this happened.
Yeah.
I did read that after the report had come out, that reverend that was at that church resigned. He felt, they don't know exactly why, but he resigned and he ended up going somewhere else. And I'm guessing because maybe some backlash. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
okay. All right. Our last story of this episode, I am so excited to talk with Ben about. And I'm going to preface this up front. I apologize if this gets a little longer because it is a lot for us to talk about. And we've actually got 2 crimes committed. All right. I've got some facts for you before we get into this story. According to a 2017 study by St. Leo University.
So excited about this.
Through the American Association for Nude Recreation, nudism industry generates about $7.4 billion with a B dollars annually for Florida alone economy.
No, I don't believe that.
You don't believe it? I have it cited right here.
I refuse to believe that.
$7 billion annually.
Is that pornography too?
No, this is the American Association for Nude Recreation,
Okay.
otherwise known
First
as
off,
AANR.
You call it nude recreation?
That's the name of the association.
I'm just saying, there's only
But this study was done through St. Leo University.
I don't know what that. You say that like I should know. That's like saying you said it like this was done by Harvard. St. Leo University. No one knows who that is.
It is the Harvard of Florida, Central Florida.
No, it's not.
I don't know.
It's probably a nude university.
Okay. They'll tell you this. According to the same study, about 2.2 million people travel annually to Florida to participate in nudist vacations.
Okay. You people are out of your dang minds. You're out of your minds.
So I wanted to start up at the top because
you wanted to start with
once
nudity
again,
at the
Ben
top.
and I are out of our depths in this one. This is not a world that we even have a pinky toe in. I don't know anybody that is a nudist. At least they've never disclosed it to me. I have never vacationed at a nudist colony. I'm out of my depths here. I don't understand this lifestyle.
So what you're saying is you want to do some background research.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get into this.
I wanted to get into this because
this lifestyle.
This is a very this is not just a I'm into pickleball now, like everybody else, right?
Do you think they have pickleball courts at these nudist colonies?
100% they do. Yeah, 100% they do. And at the same time, while we are going to poke a lot of fun at people and have some giggles because we both apparently have the humor of junior high children.
Hey, you know what? Anyone that says they don't are lying.
Yeah. I also don't want to detract from people that are consenting adults who choose to live this lifestyle. You are free to do so. Whatever.
Well, I'll say it. You're a weirdo.
I don't understand it. And here's the thing. As stated in several other episodes, if I had been arrested for anything, it would have been some sort of public nudity. I like to not wear clothing if possible.
But
I actually hate clothing.
Public, like not living your lifestyle that way.
Again, that doesn't mean that I want to be out in public like that or doing like today we did some yard work and stuff. I cannot imagine being nude while doing that.
That's weird.
Okay. And so anyways, just wanted to
Caveat.
let you know that
we're starting with this.
There was some facts to kind of before we get into the story. In February of 1988, Garland Russell arrives at the Sunny Sands Nudist Resort in Northeast Florida. Pause. It is still around today.
I know. I looked it
You
up.
looked it up.
Yeah.
It is not cheap to stay there.
I bet not.
Well, first off, and we're going to find out probably in a while. This is, I'm sure you can book an RV spot, but if you want to like rent one of the cabins or anything like that, like they need people committed to this. This is not just come for the weekend sort of resort. Yeah. So Rusty, that's his nickname, arrives at the Nudist resort and asks if he can join this. They call themselves a colony. So although the Nudist colony does have stringent requirements for joining, namely that 90% of the time single men are usually like not even allowed to join. That's red flag number 1 for most people, is that you're a single male trying to come to this Nudist group. However, he manages to very quickly integrate himself in with the 2 people, the like owner and co-owner, and they do extend a membership to him. Both of them are interviewed, and they tell us that while they admit people do slip through the cracks, they usually have a pretty rigorous background check. But we were never given any information about what that background check looks like. I could not find anywhere that they like ran any sort of information, and I think the background check is to just get a feel for the guy. I mean, there's no clothes.
Yeah.
You're already at your bare skin. Maybe they assume that that's your guard is down. I don't know, but you're in your birthday suit. Everything's out, exposed.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm trying to think of something witty to say, but I got nothing because I was so flabbergasted by this story. It is just crazy. And every time they speak, I've got red flags. I've got blaring sirens going off in my head.
A lot of people are interviewed from this, and there is a lot of B-roll. Okay. There is naked people everywhere.
But just out of sight of the camera.
But you're looking the whole time to be like, is there going to be a nip slip or something? Because it looks like on the verge of multiple times that it is within milliseconds of something being exposed.
I felt so bad for the cameraman.
Yeah, cameramen and editors who had to probably cut and slice all of these together.
All this footage.
Yeah, because they're even like panning at the pool.
Yes, I know.
And there's 30 people on the screen.
Do you see the guy that comes up and sits down on the edge and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Too close.
It was a lot.
This 70-year-old dude.
Yeah.
But okay, everything they're saying, the way they talk about this colony.
Yeah, I think that needs to be acknowledged. It sounds like there is some room for cult-like mentality and behavior. Absolutely. Yes.
That's what I said. Every time they were talking about their colony.
Yeah.
I'm just, anyone else seeing these red flags?
Anyone? Yeah.
No one?
Yeah. I 100% could see. And I would say, this is not what this is about. This is not about the leaders, but I would not be far surprised if I started doing some research if there has been some nudist colonies that have spiraled quickly into like cult mentality and behavior.
Anyways, sorry.
So he's awarded his membership, and he tells the owner, of course, that he has no family because his parents were killed in a car crash. When they asked about his last place of employment, he claims to have recently been discharged from the Air Force. He claimed that he was currently working with his parents' estate that was in probate, and that once the check's in the mail, once this all gets settled, he's going to be wealthy. We all know now today that these are red flags. People telling you this stuff, it's 98% of the time not true, or they have some way to back it up. So Rusty very, very quickly becomes beloved in the community. You guys, this is hard for me to say. And I had a hard time with this when it was being...
I can't believe she said it with a straight face.
He was especially loved by the children of the community.
Well, and she said he loved children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Again, The minute she says that, I have things screaming in my ears.
I had a visceral reaction. And here's the thing. This is not to take away that this woman is also a victim.
Well, she's just telling the facts.
She's just telling us the facts. It was just hard to hear.
Because they say there's 66 families in this community. Families. They didn't tell us how many the population was, but 66 families.
As of now, this community is now a 55 and over community.
Okay, but that was my question. Is this not a red flag?
Yeah,
that
and I don't know what
children?
The laws. I didn't think you were just allowed to expose yourself, and maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how children are allowed to be there, but I'm also not going to tell a family like how to raise their child if this is an integral part of their belief system.
Well,
I'll tell you this.
I'm going to tell you.
In Arizona, where I practice real estate, we have 55 and over communities. The caveat to that is the Fair Act laws that was passed through like all the way up at a federal level. You have the right not to be discriminated against when you're purchasing a home on several different categories, one of them being your age. So then the question comes in, well, how is it then we have areas that are able to surpass federal regulation and laws?
Because I think you can't be discriminated based on your age of being older, not younger.
No, any age. You cannot be discriminated against. So when you get into these 55 and over communities, you cannot legally buy a house there if you are
under 55.
Under 55. And even more so than that, you can't even have like long-term guests there that come. They're extremely strict with these rules. And there has obviously been laws passed and different things like that that allow this caveat to take place. But I'll be honest, I have never helped buy or sell a house or piece of land inside a nudist colony. I don't know how they supersede these rules.
I just am amazed that you have a colony of people walking around nude in front of children.
Yeah.
And how that's okay.
Yeah. Again, to me, if this is something that you choose to live your lifestyle like that, if I owned that property, I would have a hard law. A hard rule. This is for 18 and over. Period. End of story. So, if we have any nudist people out there, please reach out to me and let us know. Anyways.
Nope.
So, of course, he gets the reputation as being a big brother or an uncle to the children of the community. He claimed to be also a big film buff and had renovated an empty store in Crescent City about 15 miles away and stocked it with videotapes that he allegedly acquired while in the military service. We're going to find out later that they were likely stolen from somebody else. Mm-hmm. For those of you that don't know, back in the day, you could go, and typically Blockbuster was a big deal, but Blockbusters were in big cities. Where I grew up, you would go to these little tiny,
local video
stores and rent a videotape for a couple of dollars and then have to return it. So he's running one of these stores. And I didn't understand this.
I didn't understand it either. It doesn't make any sense.
So we're going to go through it quickly. The math of it doesn't make sense to me. He tells the people of Sunny Sands he has a special deal for them. He is going to sell his videotapes to them that he bought at a slightly higher price. He's going to sell it to them and then buy it back and calls it tax dodging. So let's say $500 because this is the example they give us. I'm going to sell a chunk of my inventory, brand new inventory that I purchased, to Ben for $500. He's going to give me a check for $500. Mm-hmm. In turn, I'm going to give him a check for $600. But he can't cash it for 90 days. And he gets to keep the inventory, right? So he owns these tapes. I'm not taking them back. At the end of the 90 days, he can cash his check. I take the inventory back, and then I can report it as used videotapes on my taxes. And he was like,
and I get $100.
And you get $100.
Yeah, the way they explained it, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, and I think this is what we call a Ponzi scheme, and we're going to eventually find out. He's robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? So, and because several people up to $1,000 do this little deal with him, which how much were videotapes back then is what I want to know.
I don't know.
And they all got the checks cleared.
Yeah, they said no one lost money.
No one lost any money. So he was giving like 20% interest, which 20% is
it's a good
rate of return. Again, you guys, we've talked about this multiple times.
Sounds too good to be true. Don't
it
do it.
Probably is. Rate of returns are typically under 10%.
And all these deals are being made in the nude, you know?
And everybody is naked. Yeah. Having conversations, swapping
business
checks.
Conversations.
Yeah. So after a few months, so he's only lived there 4 months. And in 4 months, he's managed to become best friends with the children and get people to start giving him checks that he says cash in 90 days. That's 3 months. So, yeah.
I don't know.
At this point, he starts telling everybody that he wants to expand the store. So he goes to a neighbor instead of going to a bank and gets a $20,000 loan from her. She says, okay, great, writes him a check. No problemo. 6 weeks later, he asks another couple for 20 grand, but didn't tell the first or the second investor about the other one.
Shocking.
Yeah. He told them that he needed money to buy more videotapes and equipment. They agreed to it as they would make some money on the interest. I'm going to guess that these were people he had done the soft sell to, the $500 sell to.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So he flourishes in this community, surrounded by happy families who help support his business. However, his friendly and caring facade is about to come to a screeching halt. August 28th, 1988, he is accused of molesting an 11-year-old girl, a daughter of one of his closest friends in the nudist colony. The little girl runs home and tells her mom that Rusty threw her against a wall and then threw her onto his bed, started touching her, and then at this point, the mom says that the rest is too, intimate for her to go into detail. She didn't want to share that part of her daughter's experience. Fair.
Yep.
And this girl, props to her.
Yeah.
She physically assaults him. She, hits him. I don't know if she punches him or jacks him, but she gets in 3 blows.
Yeah.
To the point that she is able to flee the trailer and go to her mom. So not only did she tell an adult, but on top of that, she fought back against a full-grown man. I was impressed. So immediately, Rusty is arrested by the county sheriffs. And he's charged automatically up front with sexual battery. And we get an interview again with the arresting officer or investigator. He is so uncomfortable
because he doesn't even want to tell.
Yeah. So we find out he is held originally without bail. Period. End of story. And that's going to come up in a minute. So put a pin in that.
Yeah. Because the officer says,
hey, we're going to pause real quick because our dog is losing it. All right, we're back. Everything's good. Our dog just hates the Amazon delivery guy.
She loves to bark at whoever's at the door.
Yeah. She likes to let us know that there's someone here and we're in immediate danger, but then she runs and hides.
Then runs away.
Yeah. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So this is when Ben was pointing out the investigator is interviewed, and he is relaying to us that he puts a different spin. He doesn't discredit that the girl was unclothed in his home behind closed doors and that he was touching her.
Yeah, Rusty acknowledged. The investigator says Rusty admits this.
But his slant, as the investigator uses, was that they were, quote, wrestling. and that he had no intention on assaulting her in any way, shape, or form.
You can just see the disdain in this investigator.
The investigator will say, thank goodness, and we're going to find out that this is, again, important in a minute, that he believes this girl.
Well, this investigator...
He is disgusted with this man.
You can just see the just hatred.
Mm-hmm. And he,
and the disgust he has
hates
on
that he's
face.
having to,
even
try to, quote, explain his side of the story or something.
He just, yeah.
So... the police obviously do not believe Rusty's story. They are fully on the side of this 11-year-old girl.
No, they charge him with the crime.
Yeah. Charge him, no bail, lock him up. He's done.
Because they say in the state of Florida, that crime for doing that under the age of 12 has a 0 bail policy.
Yeah, which is interesting because his friends in the nudist colony turn against this little girl's family. They believe Rusty and that this little girl is making this up.
Mm-hmm.
And it is deplorable to me that these adults even had the audacity to show their face on camera.
So this just irritated me to all get out. Okay. And this is you get me off on a little rant here. This was wrong with society. Okay. This guy shows up in February of 1988 and he does this in August of 1988. Okay. 6 months.
Yep.
These people got to know someone for 6 months and thought they knew him so well that they're willing to take his word over an 11-year-old who has 0 reason to lie. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why in society do we think we can get... How do you think you can know someone in 6 months? A full-grown adult.
Well, and we know even a lot more now about the type of typically men, and at times that are charged with these kinds of crimes.
Yeah, but this is also, you have these people that live in this society, in this community, and there's the mentality going around.
I know. It is, and I mean, unfortunately, we still see it to this day, and I hope maybe it's not as prevalent that people dismiss victims. From even personal experiences that I will not go into at this moment, this is not an uncommon occurrence.
I know. It made me sick.
It makes me sick too. It makes me sick. So you guys, not only do they not believe that this little girl and that she's lying, but the community, this nudist community comes together and campaigns to the judge to get him out on bail.
To at least give him a bail.
Yes. They convince a judge. They believe in this man so much to supersede a law on the books. Let that sink in. What do you think that little girl was feeling at this time to see? This is not just like, hey, let's wait for the facts to come out. This doesn't seem like the person I know. And I have a really hard time seeing this person doing that. Okay, fair. I think a lot of people could think that in most situations. But they convince a judge to go against the laws on the books, which could not have been an easy thing to do, to get this man out of jail.
Would you remember so they interviewed that co-owner, the dude? Mm-hmm. Remember what he said?
Was it, the female said that she would believe...
Or was it the female?
She believed that he would steal all of her land, the 50 acres. The 50 acres that they own, rob them blind, steal their land, and do everything before she believed this 11-year-old girl's story.
That's what
she tells us that.
Admits this, that she believes that he would have taken everything they all own before she believed that he'd done that to that girl.
Yeah, because of his character.
My jaw dropped. I was like, are you out of your mother freaking mind?
Yeah, and this is why women don't report crimes.
Ugh.
Yep. Okay. So again, I'm very grateful that at least the police, because I will like to remind people, because people don't understand this. The police that are investigating the crime have nothing to do with what the judge decides to do or not to do.
Yeah, the police
and
didn't
so the
set
mom
the
is
bail.
upset because and rightfully so, she was told by the arresting officers and the investigators, this is a no bail crime. He will not be let out.
Which they're correct on that.
Yes. And so I think a lot of people are quick to get angry at the police officers when things are done outside of their hands, when you get to the jurisdiction side of what happens inside the court systems. They're different. They are separate. And so I'm going to tell you if I think police are doing a good job, and I'm going to call them out if I think that they dropped the ball and are doing a bad job. This police department took this very serious. They believed this girl and they campaigned for her.
Well, they arrested him they said within a day or two.
A day. Yeah, immediately. So he convinces his friend Bob, who is the landlord of the video store, to give him $25,000 to post his $25,000 bail. Bob arranges to have the money available within 24 hours. During that same time period, the nudist colony owners are trying to do a favor for Rusty and go down to his store and make sure it's still running or get things set up, or for him potentially not to be there for a little while. In the process of this, they discover that he was overdrawn by thousands of dollars in his bank and had been lying to them about how much assets he actually owned. They also discovered that he was having problems with his creditors, and 90% of his payments, he owed money to everybody.
Yeah.
Realizing at this point that they had been duped financially, they tried to contact the bond agent. However, he was still able in the same time to not only convince Bob to give this money to post as bail, but he also convinces Bob to buy the video store of the land that Bob owns and the building that he owns, claiming that his reputation had been ruined. Bob then realizes at the same time that this is all a fraud, that he had actually sold not only his business but his inventory to multiple other people.
Yeah, he's been just selling the same thing like 10 times.
Yeah. So he learns the truth. He tries to unsuccessfully get the bail revoked. After being released, this is specific. Rusty sells his car to 2 separate people, gets a rental car, and leaves the area.
He's out of Dodge.
He's out. Never shows up for his court date.
Shocking.
Although fraud played a part in Rusty's status as a wanted man, the police want to get this man charged because of the issue with the child. The crime committed against the child is the big thing. Where in the state of Florida, he was actually potentially looking at the death penalty.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this. Had you? I was blown away.
No, I think it's awesome.
I mean, yes. Recently, investigators used Air Force records to determine that his real name was William Eugene Hillard. He'd previously been arrested at least throughout 14 different states and had gained more than $500,000 in fraudulent funds. Adjusted for inflation, $1.3 million. I cannot even. Artist. Yeah. He also is wanted for fraud in Texas. So this guy, he is out there. All right. Are you ready for your update? Captured.
Caught.
Yeah, thanks to Unsolved Mysteries.
There it is.
Shortly after the broadcast, within minutes of the broadcast.
Within minutes.
I love when they say that. Several viewers contacted to report that Hillard was in South Carolina. He was arrested at a convenience store.
They said he was arrested with a the day or two.
Yeah. The next within
next
24 hours, they got on him quickly. He was living under an alias, and on October 20th, he was returned to Florida to face charges. He's found guilty of assault, fraud, molestation, and rape, and is sentenced to life in prison. Hillard's defense was that he stuck by his story that the girl and him were play fighting.
Don't care.
The judge is so annoyed that he's trying to play this card that he further pushes the point that he be permanently ineligible for parole.
I saw that.
Hand clap, chef's kiss. This judge, thank you. Finally, because this is, as we know, one of the biggest repeat offenders is men like this.
Yeah.
And because he would not admit that he had done anything wrong, he didn't see a problem, the judge doubled down. Okay? And he further wanted to know that it was a sick individual who would do what he did to a young girl. And I checked. He's still there today.
I know. I actually pulled up
his record.
And saw his old man photo.
Oh, he was so gross looking. And I usually don't comment on people's looks.
Did you see his birthday?
Mashed potatoes. What was his birthday? If you say it's my birthday, I'm going to be mad. Shut up. Was he born March 6th? No.
Because I was looking at how old he is now. He was born March 6th, 1939.
Well, now I guess I can't ever celebrate a birthday again, which means I'm 39 forever. Okay.
Yeah, no, I pulled up his prison record because I was just curious if he'd passed away in prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Because he's pretty old. He's 86.
He's an old soggy pile of mashed potatoes. Yeah. Okay. Can you imagine life at a nudist colony?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That would be the worst.
Yeah. I don't think I could do it either.
I don't get it. I don't
Here's
understand
the thing.
it.
I've been to a nude beach
it.
before. I'm here for it. I love it. I'll do that again, but full on dongs for days. I just
don't say that.
Cannot imagine bits and pieces flapping in the wind all the time.
This is going to go off the rails. Let's just... No, I don't get it.
I'm just saying what other people are thinking.
Listen.
I couldn't even watch this episode of Unsolved Mysteries without being at the edge of my seat that the elderly woman that's walking around her house and they are like doing the Adam and Eve thing with everybody, that there was not going to be some accidental slip of something.
Remember that lady? She's in the kitchen.
She's frying
someone knocks
something.
on the door.
Yes.
Who is it? It's Russ. Oh, Rusty! And she goes out like
this is a normal, casual
thing.
conversation that anyone can relate to, and fully nude though. But this woman's also cooking in the kitchen. Dangerous. We've all been flicked by bacon grease before. Can you imagine?
I just don't understand what is so terrible about clothes that you people find it so horrific that you can't put them on.
I don't know. For a while, our youngest son
that's different.
Didn't understand the point of underwear, and he kept asking me to.
He was like 4.
But the best part is, I remember
44.
one time I was like, "You need to put underwear on," and he goes, "But why?" And I mean, because he had like sweatpants on too, and I was like, "You know what? I don't know. I don't know why we have to do it, but it is a part of society that you have to wear underwear under your clothes. It's just the rules. I don't make them. We just follow them.
Because we are a civilized society. Okay? This is why we do a lot of the things we do. Because we are civilized.
Yeah.
It's... ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't think, and I could not keep, I would either be so stressed at a nudist colony of like staring so hard at people's noses or their eyes that they would think something was wrong with me.
Don't get me wrong.
Or I would constantly be looking below the shoulder level, just trying to make sense of what I'm seeing, that they'd ask me to leave. They'd think I was a weirdo. And
you'd be the weirdo.
I would be the weirdo
all these people that want to just go about their normal lives.
I did read the rules on
clothes.
The Nudist Colonies page.
I can't wait for
you have to bring a towel with you at all times for sanitary reasons in case you sit on anything.
Okay.
So there's that.
I like that. That's where they like. That's where civilization.
Oh, and they don't provide the towels. You must bring your own.
You must bring your own.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna link. I copied the link to their rules page, and I'm gonna put it in the show notes so you can click on it and read the rules for yourself.
Golly.
Yeah, I don't know. Let us know if anyone is ever like. And here's the thing: we all grew up with parents that were born in the 70s and 80s. I am sure there are some people out there that are my parents' age or your parents' age who maybe had hippie parents and lived in a group like Nudist setting. I would love to hear some stories about it, but let us know if that's something that either you have ever done or somehow have a connection to, because in my vast world of meeting lots of people, I have never once at least had anyone admit that was something that they chose to vacation or something that they have knowledge that people live there. But it seems like in Florida specifically, it brings in a lot of money and it is a big thing. So there you go.
Big in more than one way.
Big in more ways than one. I will say, for men to live, cohabitate together, and things not turning into some sort of insane measuring contest, that's wild to me. Because that seems to be, men even are concerned about who has the bigger fish.
Anyways, can we please move on?
This is making you uncomfortable to talk about?
It's ridiculous, and I'm over it.
Okay. All right, so quick request like we do every week. Please follow, rate, review, subscribe, download, anywhere you get your podcast. Comment.
Sierra loves the comments.
I love the comments because I like interacting with people, but we are on YouTube now, not us recording, but our podcast is uploaded to YouTube. And I have been, if anyone follows us, I am doing shorts that kind of give brief explanations of what we're doing. Like, share, comment, share your thoughts and feelings on those. I would really appreciate it. But the number one way that you can support us is by following us on social media, commenting on things, sharing with your friends, and reviewing our podcast where you have the opportunity to do that. We are a small independent podcast. We do everything ourselves. We are technically competing with insane big companies that have multiple podcasts under their umbrella, and it goes a long way. So review us. We appreciate it. We read all of the reviews. It makes our day. And then, share with a friend or family member who might be interested in 90s true crime, nostalgia, Bigfoot, aliens. We cover I don't even like calling us a true crime podcast because we talk about a lot of other things too.
I guess we're a Bigfoot podcast. We're a UFO. We talk a lot about aliens.
Yeah, more than I ever thought.
And now we're even a religious show.
There are things that I never thought in my life I'd have to Google till starting a podcast, including facts about nudist colonies. Yeah. Or locations of nudist colonies or all of the other stuff I've had to look up. So
Sierra she looked up nudist colonies near me.
Near me. How can I join? Okay, are you ready for your question? So we're done with the recap part. So if you don't want to stick around for the shenanigans, you are free to exit stage right. All right, this week's question, Ben.
Yes.
Is there any sort of irrational fear that you have no desire to try to overcome?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What is it?
I have two massive fears.
Okay.
Okay. One, snakes.
Yeah, I don't think snakes count as a quote unquote irrational because I think a lot of people are scared of it, but I'll allow it.
Yeah, I have zero desire. Irrational or what doesn't matter. Terrified of them.
Yeah, because I've tried to get you to hold like a gardener
Nope.
snake and
Absolutely
like
not.
nothing, even the most mild, gentle thing, you don't want to try to
They are
overcome that fear.
evil looking. Everything about them
Evil
grosses me
looking.
out. Yep. There's a reason that the devil is compared to a snake in the Bible. All right.
Okay.
I just don't like them.
And you've not liked him your whole life?
My whole life.
Did you ever have a bad experience with them?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
I do remember that. Have you remember that show, Fear Factor?
Yeah, that show.
They put someone one time in a box and dumped snakes on them. That would be the end of my life. I would.
No amount of money would make you get in that box.
Yeah, and then my other fear I actually didn't know I had until... And again, this is a pretty common fear. I think a lot of people are going to relate to this.
But I will say this one to me, I know exactly what you're saying. There are people that have a desire to try to get over it because it is also a hobby.
Yeah. And the reason I'm telling this is because I didn't even know I had it till, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Were we watching a movie?
No.
No.
Well, that too.
Okay.
But, yeah, we were watching that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was the new Blair Witch.
Yep.
And it's chasing him, whatever. This girl, it's my fear of, I'm extremely claustrophobic. And this girl crawls into some tunnel and I had to leave the room just watching her do that.
Yeah, because I will say, you're claustrophobic, not in the way, maybe a traditional sense. You don't obviously care for tight spaces, but this fear is even a little bit deeper than that.
I can't,
because you and I, we've gone into caves, so it's not even being underground or it's being in tunnels or anything at all like that.
It is being confined to an area where I, one, can't see behind me. Mm-hmm. I can't turn around. If I'm in a tight area, but I can, one, move back, I can turn around, I can at least see behind me, and I can maneuver at least a little bit, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I one time was reading a book. It was one of the Jack Reacher books. Mm-hmm. And in it, he has to climb in this thing where he almost gets stuck. And I was driving and I had to pull over and get out and like take deep breaths because it was too intense.
You were having a visceral reaction to it.
So, I mean, I don't think those two fears they're not weird or maybe irrational, but they're my fears.
My hope, the thing about claustrophobia, I think a lot of people, tight spaces, but yours is a different level because, and I will say, there are people that have probably worked to overcome that or work through it because they enjoy
not a chance in this
doing
world.
Cave stuff. But we even went and explored a cave with the kids. And there have been plenty of people that have crawled down to this end of the tunnel.
No.
And I ended up having to take the kids down. And you're able to crawl on your hands and knees the whole time. And you can turn around. But it was still, even that was like, but it didn't bother you that me and the kids were going.
No, you just do your thing. All right, what's yours?
The ocean.
The ocean.
Just the whole thing.
Just everything about it.
The coastline, I love. Coastline, salty air, feet in the sand. I love it.
You like the environment.
I like the environment. I don't even mind going and jumping into the waves and just, and honestly, even before I had extensions in my hair, I loved getting my hair in the salty water because I have curly hair that here in Arizona is just always dry and dead. But when we'd go to San Diego, I had like this beautiful curly hair whenever I got out of the ocean. But yeah, the deep ocean and like not understanding what is underneath me and what could come up. That video that I'm sure a handful of people saw that went viral this week of the whale coming up and swallow. Well, he didn't swallow.
He didn't swallow. He put the kayaker in his mouth and then spit him out.
Spit him out. Yeah, he didn't inhale. That was a famous Bill Clinton line for you. He just put it in his mouth.
He didn't go full Job.
Yeah, he just put him in his mouth. And then, I mean, and whales are not aggressive animals. This was obviously unintentional, but it's also a whale, and we're in the whale's house. And he put the guy in his mouth and then spit him out.
Okay, but we went kayaking that one time in La Jolla.
Mm-hmm.
Did you freak out about that?
I was not like, I wasn't in love with it. One, the water was really cold. I don't think there was going to be a lot of sharks there. We were in a group. We didn't go out very far. We went to the caves. But even like being on a cruise ship, it makes me uncomfortable. But if you wanted to go to a cruise ship and then go on an excursion where you go out in a little boat and then you just are supposed to like get out and be free kicking in the deep water.
You're just afraid that it's so infested with crazy things that they're all...
We have literally explored so little of the ocean. We don't know what's down there. And I'm not about to test that.
And Sierra's going to find out what it is.
Nope. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I respect the ocean in all of its craziness. The fact that a liquid can get so heavy that it can cause you to combust, like, it's just very terrifying to me.
So you wouldn't have wanted to been on that ocean
Heck
submarine.
no. Those people paid to be on there. You could have not paid me money to be on there.
I just want everyone to know, we've been to the ocean before, and Sierra will get into about her waist. Mm-hmm. And after that, she nopes right out.
Yeah, that's where I'm happy.
And then that's it.
And if I'm with the kids and stuff, I don't let them go very deep.
I know, because I've taken them out, and she gets really upset about it.
Yeah. Well, there's undercurrents, and there's sharks, and there's
the sea creature that we don't know
about, and there's that ginormous octopus thing, the squid thing. Have you seen that? That's like absolutely not.
It's like the Bigfoot of the ocean.
Yeah. And so that, I mean, I know I have a handful of other fears, but
that is an irrational one.
But that is an irrational fear that I'm sure I could try to quote unquote move past or get over, but for what purpose? I ain't going into the ocean.
You're good to just stay on land.
Yeah, I'll stay on the coastline. Get me a drink in a coconut, a light breeze, an umbrella. Bye. That's all I need from the ocean.
You don't need the water. You just want to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Put my toes in. That's it.
Sure.
So, there you go. All right, everybody. That is our episode. Make sure to tune in next week where Ben and I recap one of the original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Bye.